Hi guys! Today we'll be recapping a story called I Was the Real Owner of Elheim. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! Riarte Elheim was supposed to awaken water's power by the time she turned 20. She's become a disgrace of the house Elheim. Unlike her twin brother Rian in other translations, who awakened his power, even though it was incomplete or imperfect. Riarte could not awaken the power despite her efforts, and so she had to be executed. The head of House Elheim stood before his dukedom commanding the execution of his own daughter. He told Riarte they were puzzled why she couldn't awaken the power of water. He claimed that an ancient text said Rian's powers would only become perfect with Riarte's death. This was her destiny, to be sacrificed for her brother. As Riarte helplessly kneeled inside a magic circle that would instantly erase her existence, her twin brother stood and watched with the crowd, unfazed by what was about to happen. Riarte tried so hard to be loved, but it was all in vain. The Duke commanded to begin the execution. The magic circle was activated and the spirit stone glowed above her head. Her end was inevitable. As her execution began, Riarte wished and promised that if she would have another life, she would surely abandon House Elheim. In a sudden turn of events, the spirit stone glowed brighter and water swirled around Riarte. She had awoken the power of water. The stone shined much brighter until it suddenly cracked and shattered to pieces. No one understood what was happening. A water spirit appeared, reached out toward Riarte, and pleaded for her to open her eyes. When she woke up, she was in her room that was supposed to be burned down on the morning of her execution. Rian arrived and inquired how she was feeling, but later revealed that he was only there to confront Riarte for ruining his schedule and for being a nuisance. Those words rang a bell in Riarte's brain. She vividly remembered the exact line from 3 years ago. Riarte recalled that 3 years ago, she jumped in to protect Rian from an assassin. She was poisoned and collapsed, causing Rian's plans to be postponed. Instead of thanking her for saving his life, Rian visited her to tell her how much of a nuisance she was. Yes, it was that exact day. Riarte realized that she had gone back in time. And so Riarte decided not to be the same girl that they had treated indifferently. She flicks away her arm from Rian's grip and retorted that she will never do anything so pointless again, referring to saving Rian from poison. Rian was shocked by how Riarte acted, but before he could react, Ainrius in some translation, their eldest brother barged into the room announcing that their father, the Duke, had summoned the Water Awakeners because the Spirit Stone had suddenly started to shine. Before leaving the room, Ain side-eyed Riarte with a demeaning look, and Riarte returned the same look. Alone, Riarte recalled the moment her execution was carried out, when the Spirit Stone shattered. She felt she absorbed some kind of energy from it, and suspected that she might have awoken the power of water. She tried to use magic to test her hypothesis, and there in her hands appeared a ball of water that she was able to conjure from thin air. Riarte didn't know if gaining the power in her second life was a blessing or a curse, but one thing was certain, she would definitely abandon the house Elheim. Later that day, a fine young man with a red blindfold was traveling with his valet. This man is the young master of House Verche, who has a curse in his eyes. Michael Verche, Mihail Verche in some translations. He was seeking a water awakener from Elheim to lift the curse placed upon him. The valet informed him that this could be tricky since Elheim suspected that Verche was behind the attempted assassination of Rian. But they had no choice since only Elheim had water awakeners. The valet noticed from his window that assassins sent by the Imperial family were following their carriage. It was soon revealed that the Imperial family was also responsible for the curse placed on Michael. With a simple wave of the young master's hand, the assassins choked to their demise. Without giving a thought of what was happening to the assassins, the valet and Michael went on to their talk. Michael was determined to find someone who could lift the curse. If he did, he would give them whatever they wanted. He believed that the enemy must be killed and grudges must be settled. That is the creed of House Verche. Not long after, they arrived at Elheim's manor, where Michael presented an official letter of visitation, a formal protocol indicating that the visitor would not harm the host family. Those who came with an official letter could not be turned away lightly. The Duke hesitantly received Michael's visit. Michael immediately said that his purpose for visiting was to have a water awakener break his curse. The Duke reminded him that if the curse was so severe that even a saintess could not lift it, the water awakener could lose their life. The Duke proposed waiting for a month for a volunteer to appear rather than forcing one to lift the curse. Michael agreed to this. However, he doubted if there would be an awakener capable of breaking his curse. That night, Michael waited for a volunteer to come to the guest room, but none came. His valet, Walter, noted that not only were there no volunteers, but even the servants were not coming. Walter informed him that the Duke had gathered the Water Awakeners. Michael commanded Walter to gather information on the Duke of Elheim while he was busy gathering the Awakeners. When he was alone, Michael pondered if his eyesight would ever return. Although he could still use his abilities, without his sight he would not be able to control it. Moments later, he noticed that an intruder had entered the room. It turned out that it was Riarte, who recently realized that she had awoken water's power. Riarte assured Michael that she was not an assassin nor a water awakener sent by the Duke. Michael suddenly sensed a refreshing fragrance coming from Riarte, unlike the fishy smell of Elheim's water. He inquired Riarte why she had come to him. Riarte told him that she could eliminate the curse and restore his sight, but in return she asked Michael what he would give her. Michael held Riarte's hand and told her he would give everything. Before lifting the curse, Riarte wanted to see the condition of Michael's eyes. While Riarte was removing his tightly tied-up blindfold, Michael could feel the soft touch of her hand. The scent of water from her kept stimulating his sense of smell. That's sus. Riarte saw Michael's ruby eyes surrounded by 7 layers of black magic. Michael was astonished that Riarte could identify black magic, knowing that the Duke of Elheim had an aversion to ancient dark magic. Deep inside, Riarte recalled the time when she couldn't give up on the hope of being loved by the rest of her family. So she read forbidden books to learn magic and be useful even without the power of water. However, she just answered him that she only happened to know. She explained that if they didn't take action sooner, Michael could completely lose his sight. Riarte immediately used her power to break the first seal. Even though it was Riarte's first time using the power of water, it was moving according to her will. Michael felt the powerful force flowing into his body and wondered who on earth was this strong water awakener breaking his curse. When the first layer was lifted, his eyes felt a little better. Riarte explained that she could not release the layers all at once since it would harm Michael. She would be releasing them 1 per day. Riarte decided to leave immediately after saying that they would meet again the next day. Michael replied that he would wait for her, even though he didn't know Riarte's name. Back in her room, Riarte recalled that in her past life, half of the Elheim's family's territory was lost in war to Michael Verche. The Duke confessed to her that because they ignored and mocked Michael's curse, he wanted to take his revenge on them, and that with her death, they could complete the ritual with Rion and awaken the Spirit Stone to fight against Verche. Now, Riarte knew that the true owner of the Spirit Stone was her and not Rion. However, she could never let the Duke know about this. According to the law, nobles born into an awakened family are forced to be with their family until they reach adulthood, when they are finally free to live on their own. Riarte understood that she had to hide this secret until she became an adult. Rion came to her room to check if there were still any after effects from the poison. Is he really concerned? Riarte coldly replied that Rion was only concerned because he could not use his abilities properly without her. The slap of this harsh truth puzzled Rion as to why Riarte acted that way. Digressing the talk, Rion informed Riarte that she could freely move around during the day, so she would not feel frustrated staying in her room all day. After leaving, Rion pondered what kind of change of heart occurred to Riarte after she jumped in front of him and stopped the assassin. Riarte used to always watch his facial expressions and tried to please him. What a narcissist! Outside Riarte's room, Rion met Aenlius, who informed him that the light of the Spirit Stone had become stronger since the previous day. They went to see the stone, and it indeed emitted a strong pulsing light. When Rion tried to sense the stone, he could feel nothing. He could not feel anything. The Spirit Stone no longer reacted to him. When the next evening came, Riarte went to rendezvous with Michael. He's so handsome, especially with the blindfold on. Michael requested Riarte to stop addressing him too formally and call him by his first name instead. This was an obvious act of flirtation, but Riarte didn't even bat an eye. Michael wondered if she was smart or just cold. Riarte inquired about Michael's eyes. He reassured her that they had improved, and Riarte sighed in relief. Riarte was about to begin lifting another layer of the curse when she noticed that Michael was tensed. So she held Michael's trembling hand, assured him that she would restore his eyesight, and told him not to worry and trust her. Michael felt Riarte's frail and soft hand resting lightly in his grasp. He mused silently. wondering how someone like him, a Verche, could ever be on the receiving end of such comforting words. Riarte was the first person to ever capture Michael's genuine interest. Riarte lifted the second layer of the curse. Once again, Michael felt the strong power coming from Riarte. But what captivated his interest was no longer just her ability. He found it oddly endearing how she treated him as though he was fragile and in need of protection despite his reputation. Michael wished he could see her with his own eyes, curious about the expression she wore at the moment. He assured her to return the favor when he was completely healed, and asked if he would finally hear Riarte's name when the curse was lifted. Riarte responded with a slight hesitation, wondering if Michael had already investigated who she was. With an affectionate gesture, he ran his fingers through a few strands and smelled the fragrance of Riarte's hair. He assured her he never tried to investigate her and vowed not to pry into her story unless Riarte chose to share it. Someday, he hoped, Riarte would reveal it on her own terms. Everyone, that's a green flag right there! Riarte thought about how kind Michael was and promised to reveal her name before his eyes fully healed. The next morning, Riarte decided to go to the library to look for books on water manipulation. On her way, Riarte recalled that before she went back in time, Michael Verche was followed only by unfavorable rumors. So she didn't expect that he would turn out to be affectionate. She wondered if her regression could have affected Michael too. Riarte arrived at the library and remarked how she used to visit there often to hide from her relatives who despised the unawakened. As she was searching for books on water awakeners to help her lift the remaining layers of Michael's curse, her older brother, the third son, Hueman Elheim, came to her. Riarte and Rian, the twins, have 3 older brothers: Ainlius, the eldest, Dentarian, the second, and Hueman, the third. Hueman and Riarte used to be close since they both loved reading books. Hueman would collect forbidden books secretly from their father. Riarte would also read the books because she wanted to help her family even without the power of water. However, their secret didn't last long. One day, while they were secretly reading forbidden knowledge, their father found them. When asked who collected the books, Hueman blamed Riarte for everything. The Duke clearly knew that Riarte was not the culprit. He knew that there was no way a young girl could have had the money and power to seek out and obtain a forbidden book. Despite knowing this, the Duke still punished her using his water abilities, which left Riarte traumatized. She would rather be beaten than be inflicted with water magic. After the incident, Riarte severed ties with Hueman. However, if no other blood relatives were around, Hueman would strike up conversations with her, just like he was doing right now. Hueman approached Riarte with a tentative smile and asked how Riarte had been, especially after the assassination incident. But Riarte coldly questioned what right Hueman had to greet her so casually, as if he hadn't done anything to her. Before she went back in time, Riarte used to feel fear towards Hueman because she was traumatized by the forbidden book incident. But now, she felt completely indifferent. Hueman tried to defend himself, saying that he had always wanted to apologize for the mistakes he made when he was young. But Riarte believed that he only wanted to be forgiven because he was worried about himself, to remain a good child in the Duke's eyes. He wanted to feel less guilty about what he did because he couldn't stand the idea of becoming a bad person. Another narcissist right here! Riarte told Hueman there was no need to apologize since she didn't intend to accept it. Hueman tried to stop Riarte from leaving, but she shoved away his hand and bid him to continue living as such a good child. And as a cherry on top, Riarte called him a hypocrite before she left. Ooh, what harsh words, but definitely valid. Later in the evening, Walter, Michael's valet, reported the results of his investigation. They learned that the spirit stone in Elheim awakened. Michael asked for evidence of this report, but Walter could not provide any, as even figuring out the information he learned has put him on the verge of death. Walter expected this excuse would not work on the young master, but to his surprise, Michael accepted this and even commended him, which was rather unusual. Walter thought that Michael had finally gone crazy after losing his sight. Walter excused himself while pondering why Michael was in a good mood. He figured that Michael was happy because of the water awakener who came to lift the curse. While Michael was waiting for Riarte, another set of assassins came to his room. He was sure Elheim wouldn't engage in such tricks, so he figured they were sent by those who cursed him. Come on now, I need the reason why they want him dead and why they cursed him. Michael drew his dagger and decided to handle the situation as quietly as possible so as not to alarm the whole mansion. He wondered how these assassins managed to sneak Elheim's heavy defenses. Michael suspected that they intended to drive Elheim and Verche against each other. As he continued fending himself, Riarte arrived at a bad time. Michael apologized and asked her to wait outside while he finished the encounter. Suddenly, the assassins ceased to move. It was Riarte. She used her powers to immobilize them. Despite the situation, Riarte noticed the cut on Michael's cheek and caressed his face. She promised to treat it once the situation was sorted out. This gesture was enough to make Michael's heart flutter, as even amidst the stench of blood, Riarte was still focused on treating and protecting him. As Michael and Riarte continued fending off the assassins, cracks suddenly appeared on their body. With a blink of an eye, the assassins shattered, and what remained were only their bones. Michael thought it was Riarte's doing, but she didn't use any powers to cause the assassins to shatter. Riarte investigated the remains of the assassins and figured that it was a form of ancient dark magic. But now that harm was out of the way, Riarte immediately proceeded to remove another layer of the curse. What? This is the third, right? Michael enjoyed the moment Riarte removed the curse and wished for the time to stop. Meanwhile, at the Imperial Palace, Lucas Francium, who was the crown prince, and his mage figured that it was impossible to maintain the shape of the puppets they sent to Michael for a long time. Lucas did not only send the puppets to monitor whether Michael's curse still worked, but also to stir things between Elheim and Riarte. Although the mage was worried that they could no longer monitor Michael without the puppets, he reassured the prince that the curse was a powerful ancient magic that even the Duke of Elheim could not break easily. Lucas knew the curse was not easy to solve, even with Elheim's abilities, except for Rian Elheim. So he decided to use his sister, Princess Ninian, as an excuse to visit the House of Elheim. The next day, Duke Elheim met with his sons Ain, Huimin, and Rian to discuss the Spirit Stone. A pulsating blue halo appeared in the center of the stone like a heart. Ain concluded that the awakening was not far away, all thanks to Rian. Rian's mind was off somewhere else, wondering what was happening to Riarte, and he didn't notice the Duke calling for his attention. The Duke reminded him that he would come of age soon and suggested he find a spouse. Ain brought out the letter from the Crown Prince, informing them that he would be visiting Elheim soon. He figured that the prince wanted Rian and Princess Ninian to get engaged. Rian didn't mind this pairing because he knew that Ninian had liked him since they were kids, someone easy for him to get. The Duke decided to hold a hunting competition event to welcome Michael Riarte and to invite the royal family that day. Several days passed, and Riarte continued to gradually lift Michael's curse until only one layer was left. While Riarte was holding the second to the last layer, Michael pondered the Duke's intention for holding a hunting competition to welcome a supposedly blind visitor from Riarte. He realized that Elheim was slowly crossing the line, but he considered it entertainment while waiting for the day he would trample on Elheim. As soon as the curse was completely lifted, Michael's sight slowly got clearer until he could see in full high definition. And the very first thing he saw was Riarte's face. Riarte then asks Michael if he can see her after breaking this second to the last curse. As Michael opens his eyes, he notices how close Riarte's face is, thus he quickly moves his face. However, Riarte is unbothered by how close they are since she's still concerned about whether she successfully breaks the curse. Well, based on the blush on his face, he's definitely down so bad. Michael then assures Riarte that he can see now while trying to stay calm since he feels flustered. After calming himself, he looks at Riarte intently, thanks her, and adds that he is glad that she's the first person he sees after the curse is lifted. Michael then assures Riarte that Riarte does not forget favors, thus, the entire Riarte family will treat Riarte as a benefactor since she restored the eyesight of its successor. Michael then asks Riarte what her wish is, even if there is still one layer of the curse to undo, because he believes she will soon fully undo the curse. After hearing this, Riarte then realizes that what she desires is something that she must achieve to avoid repeating the regrets in her past life. Even if she thinks that it is impossible to attain alone, since she is also a disgrace to the Elheim ducal family and also born as an awakened half-blood. Still, she believes it might be possible with Michael's help. Riarte looks directly at Michael and introduces herself as Riarte Elheim, who wants to escape from Elheim. After hearing Riarte's name, Michael smiles and comments that she has a beautiful name. He promises to help her break free from the Elheim family. As time passes, Michael starts to introduce himself to her, and while talking, he notices Riarte's silence, and thus, he asks her if she can also say something about herself. Hearing this, she realizes she doesn't know much about herself, noticing Riarte can't say anything. Michael then asks Riarte if she likes birds, to which Riarte agrees. Thus, he starts to summon the birds commonly used for surveillance in Verche. Seeing that Riarte smiles because of this, a small smile also shows on his lips. Michael is whipped already, even before he knows that he is. Michael then asks Riarte when she plans to leave Elheim and suggests he can help her go immediately. However, she disagrees with this since she's still a minor, and nobles who are minors cannot leave their families until they come of age. Thus, if she leaves now, the Empire will use its laws to justify capturing her, which might also turn the entire Empire against Verche. After hearing this, Michael remembers that once the hunting competition ends, he will also be leaving the place, and he doesn't want to leave Riarte behind since Riarte is uncomfortable. Thus, he tells her he will consider the day she leaves Elheim her coming-of-age ceremony. The following day, Ain is greeted by Dantarian Elheim, Elheim's second son. Dantarian is exceptional even among the awakened lineage of Elheim, and he left for the Imperial Palace to serve as a guard to Princess Ninian. Ain then comments that Dantarian is late, but Dantarian smiles cockily at him and asks to see the Spirit Stone. Next, Dantarian is impressed to see the stone shining brightly, and upon touching the water surrounding it, he realizes that the water that fills the place cannot be controlled. Both are shocked when an explosion happens and quickly notice a boy. Water Boy has appeared! Ain and Dantarian are shocked to see a boy appear after the explosion. They both feel the immense pressure that even a human cannot reach that power. Thus, they realize that only a divine being can possess it. Ain then asks the boy who he is, but he is mad for questioning him, so he uses his power to tangle Ain and Dantarian's bodies while letting them float in the air. While still in the air, the boy introduces himself as Lord Rayard's 10th weapon, and also Jerson's first contractor, or in other words, the Spirit King. After knowing the boy is the Spirit King, Ain and Dantarian are shocked. While still tangled, the Spirit King notices that Ain and Dantarian are descendants of Durin, and asks them where the person who woke him is, realizing they're being tangled with his power. Ain then quickly answers that the person who woke him is outside, and asks the Spirit King if he wants him to bring him to him, but the Spirit King instructed Ain to bring Durin's successor within the next 3 days. After commanding them, the Spirit King returns inside the stone. After reporting their encounter with the Spirit King to the Duke, they are all gathered outside the door of where the stone is, but no one dares to open the door. Ain then informs the Duke that the Spirit King instructs them to bring him the heir of Durin in 3 days, thus they can enter tomorrow together with Rian, and indeed, the door will open for them. The Duke then comments that Rian hasn't been seen lately and is particularly attached to Riarte these days to the point where he invites Riarte to the hunting competition, which he has to agree with since it is Rian's choice. Next, the Duke reminds him that they need to hide about the Spirit King, particularly that they must never let it fall to the ears of Michael Verche. The day of the hunting competition arrives, and while Michael is standing away from the crowd, he notices the interaction between Rian and Riarte and does not like what he sees. The Duke then interrupts Michael, who asks how he is feeling today without knowing that Michael can already see. Michael replies to the Duke that he feels good and it will be a fun hunt while pretending to be blind since he can already see, even if one layer of cure must be lifted. While looking at the Duke, Michael realizes that the Duke probably thinks that he's just standing at the side like a scarecrow without sight, but his thoughts are distracted when he notices that Rian is tightly holding Riarte's arm. Next, while Riarte is sitting on the grass far away from the crowd, she then realizes that Rian has been acting strangely these days, and that she never expected to be invited to a hunting competition just like in the past. She also remembers Rian asking her what she would like him to catch during the hunt, and when she tries to reject him, he starts to force her. Thus, she then tells Rian that she wants a live silver fox and she knows that it's hard to catch. But Rian smiles and starts to promise her that he will bring it to her. Riarte's thoughts are then interrupted when she notices Michael walking towards her. Oh my, Riarte's twin brother is weird. Riarte then asks Michael how he found her, and Michael tells her that he just had a feeling that she was in this place. But the real reason he found Riarte is that he followed the refreshing scent of Riarte floating through the wind. Riarte then asks Michael how his eyes are, and he replies that they're improving. After a couple of silences, Michael then slightly uncovers Riarte's hand and comments to Riarte that her hands might hurt her a lot. Riarte then tells Michael that it didn't hurt much since she's used to it, but Michael quickly tells her that he doesn't want her to get used to feeling the pain. Shock is written all over Riarte's face after hearing Michael's reply. Thus, she tries to cover it by asking him why he approached her. Michael then smiles and tells her that it is because he misses her. Aww, this guy sure knows how to capture our hearts. After hearing this, Riarte suddenly feels warmth since other people think of her as unawakened and usually don't see her, but Michael bothers to approach her. Riarte then looks at Michael and tells him she's glad he approached her too. Michael then starts to get flustered because of how Riarte replies. Thus, he quickly stands and asks her if she will attend the banquet since he wants to dance with her. Riarte tells him she will participate since he will also attend the banquet. While Rian is tracking the silver fox during the hunting competition, he remembers the Duke telling him that the fox is challenging to catch because it is an extinct breed, and their ancestors made an order to kill it in the past. Rian's thoughts are interrupted when he suddenly sees a silver fur from the silver fox and says it might be the last one left in Elheim. As he tries to follow the tracks, he sees the silver fox, and when he's about to catch it, somebody shoots the fox, but he just passes out. Rian then looks at the person and discovers that Michael hit the fox. After carrying the silver fox, Michael starts to taunt Rian by telling him that Rian is someone who can see. However, Rian's hunting skills seem less than his, and the curse blinds him. Michael then adds that Rian must catch it sooner next time since it might be something to be stolen, leaving Rian frustrated and speechless. I love how Michael is very petty. Later on, Riarte is in her room while looking at the banquet dress Rian gifted her. She then realizes that she had never worn a banquet dress in her past life, but so many things have changed since the regression and things haven't happened the same way. After staring at the beautiful banquet dress, Riarte thinks she would enjoy it if she were a princess. She then looks at herself in the mirror and notices her uncut hair and old gray dress. Riarte realizes that if it were before, she would not have had any regrets. But then she starts to encourage herself that starting today, she will write about her future. Yes, you go, girl! Fight for yourself and don't let them take away your shine! In the evening, after the hunting competition, the banquet is held at Elheim Place. Among the guests at the banquet are the Crown Prince and Princess Ninian, who excitedly approach and greet Rian. Rian then greets Princess Ninian and the Crown Prince in return. While they all arrive at the dance hall, Dantarian comments that the princess didn't greet them and just went directly to Rian. Princess Ninian jokingly tells Dantarian that his behavior now doesn't suit him. Meanwhile, Ain again thanks the Crown Prince for attending the banquet. The Crown Prince then asks Ain how the hunting competition that morning went, to which Ain replies that it ended safely. The Crown Prince then scans the crowd to find Michael, who he quickly sees at the side of the hall. The Crown Prince feels satisfied after seeing that his curse towards Michael works well. Next, Prince Ninian approaches her brother, telling him that Rian seems upset today after she asks if Riarte is attending the party. The Crown Prince stares at Princess Ninian and realizes that Ninian is still innocent since she doesn't understand that Riarte is disliked by her family, especially the Duke, because Riarte is incompetent. Meanwhile, all eyes are staring directly at the arrival of a new lady. Riarte's brothers and the Duke are shocked to see Riarte's new look since she resembles their mother. Huayman then comments that it is the first time Riarte has dressed up and has such a poised and composed demeanor, without any disarray, that she looks like a perfect noble lady. While staring intently at Riarte, Rian realizes that in the past, even after being mistreated, Riarte always chased after the affection of the family. Even if he responded coldly because it was ridiculous for her to expect to be able to enter the family, she still didn't give up. But now Rian notices that Riarte is looking at him with such cold eyes. Michael, ever the opportunist, quickly asks Riarte to dance, which she agrees to, leaving Rian behind, who is also about to ask Riarte for a dance. While they're dancing, Michael tells Riarte that she looks beautiful tonight, and Riarte in return comments that he looks exquisite. Riarte then sees the Crown Prince, thus making her remember that before she regressed, the royal family meddled in ancient powers and potions. Michael loses his eyesight due to a curse that can only be done if that person is from the royal family, making her conclude that the Crown Prince's attendance tonight is to ensure that Michael's curse is intact. Riarte then reports to Michael that the mastermind who cursed his eyes is at the banquet hall, which makes Michael smile since he's about to explain it to her. But she's already figured it out. Michael then tells Riarte that it doesn't matter anyway and that he wants her to come with him to Verche after her age. Meanwhile, Rian feels angry after hearing that Riarte might leave Elheim. He plans that when he takes his place as Duke at his coming of age, he can bind Riarte to Elheim forever. OMG, this guy is giving me the creeps. When Rian and Ninian stop dancing, Ninian notices that the Duke and the Crown Prince are talking. Thus, she tells Rian that they might be talking about their upcoming engagement. After realizing this, Rian quickly joins the talk, which shocks the Duke and Ninian. Rian then tells the Crown Prince that he plans to engage with Ninian after the coming-of-age ceremony. The Crown Prince then smirked and told Rion that he understood, since being engaged while still a minor might be unstable for their relationship. He starts to compliment Rion for being severe and cautious. Ninian then approached Rion and thanked him for thinking about her. Rion looked at Ninian and felt that it was not a concern for Ninian, but it was not damaging to let their misunderstanding persist. Rion plans to hold the coming-of-age ceremony quickly since water abilities strictly govern Elheim. He is currently the strongest awakened one. Thus, after his coming of age, he will become the successor of Duke Elheim. And just like that, Rion can use his authority to keep Riarte from going anywhere. The day after the party, Riarte is then called to the room where the Duke used to discipline her before. The Duke arrives at the room with a pissed and stern look while asking Riarte if she has any excuses on why she danced with Verche at the banquet yesterday. Riarte then looks at the Duke emotionlessly and asks him what the problem is with dancing with Verche. The Duke is stunned by how Riarte reacts to him and notices that something has changed with her since she's always used to being withdrawn. However, he thinks her actions might be a new ploy to attract attention. Thus, the Duke angrily shouts at Riarte that her using Michael to rebel against him is a mistake since he will not give her any attention since she is not in Elheim, so he has no intention of treating her as his daughter, which Riarte replies that it is okay since she doesn't treat him as her father either. The Duke is stunned by Riarte's reply and asks her if she understands what she's saying. Riarte then nods and reminds him that he has mentioned several times that she's not a person of Elheim, thus it is contradictory to say that she must stay away from Verche. The Duke then tries to guilt-trip Riarte that the room they're in is her mother's favorite room, and also reminds her that she is the reason why their mother died because she is non-existent. Riarte then asks the Duke if their mother's last will is asking him to take revenge on the one who killed her, which makes the Duke speechless, thus she leaves the room. Alone, the Duke then starts to remember his wife's last wish, but then stops and reminds himself that it is Riarte's fault that his wife died. Thus, Riarte can never become an Elheim and promises that Riarte can never be an awakened one. Wow, the Duke's stupidity, denial, and cruelty knows no bounds. That night, Riarte meets with Michael to lift the last curse, which she successfully does. After telling Michael that the previous curse is wholly lifted, he thanks Riarte for helping him, but he also notices that she doesn't seem to be feeling well and asks her what happened. Riarte then opens up to Michael and tells him that she went to the discipline room for a while this afternoon. After hearing this, Michael quickly scans Riarte while looking for visible wounds. Fortunately, there are none. He then thinks that she was not hurt physically. Michael then starts to believe that if he asks about the details, Riarte will probably feel uncomfortable, so he tries to lighten the mood by telling her that she can lean on him if she's tired. After hearing this, Riarte leans on his chest, which makes him freeze and flustered. But then he starts to listen to Riarte when she starts to open up to him that she told the Duke that she does not consider him family. Then Riarte starts to ask Michael if what she did is right. Michael then hugs Riarte and assures her that she doesn't have to try to impress someone who doesn't respect her. While holding her hand, Michael asks Riarte how Elheim treats her. Riarte then tells Michael she doesn't know where to start since it's a distant memory. But still, she proceeds by telling Michael that she remembers when she woke up and found herself in front of an abandoned mountain cabin, and as the days passed by, the Elheim people just made sure that she was well spent in the food supply. She also remembers being alone with no one around, but she knows the Duke intends to keep her alive and hidden from sight. After a long time, they came back for her, but it was solely to use her as a tool for Rion's abilities. And if it hadn't been for that reason, then she would still be trapped in the mountain cabin. Riarte then tells Michael that perhaps living alone in the cabin is better than being with her family because it is tough to live amidst unjust punishment, outbursts, indifference, and ridicule. Also, she always tries to be wanted and loved by her family, but she doesn't think she cares about the Elheim family. After hearing about Riarte's life, Michael quickly hugs her and promises to help her escape Elheim, which makes Riarte hug Michael back. After hugging each other, Michael asks Riarte what she wants to do after getting out of Elheim. Riarte smiles and tells Michael that she wants to see the sea since she always wishes to see it at least once before she dies. Michael then starts to pinch her cheeks while assuring her that she will see it, and he promises in the name of Verche that on the day she comes of age, he will definitely go and take her away. Meanwhile, the Duke, Ain, Dantarian, and Rion are at the door of the Spirit King's room, since it is the last day that the Spirit King wants to meet the one who woke him up. Upon entering, the Duke sees how powerful the Spirit King is just by looking at the overwhelming power of the water surrounding the Spirit King. Ain then bows while announcing to the Spirit King that he brought the valid owner of the Spirit Stone. The Spirit King then asks Ain if he's referring to Rian and tells him angrily that Rian is a fake. Wow, that is so satisfying to hear that he's a fake. On a stormy night, the Spirit King rages as the Elheim family attempts to present Rian as the bearer of the Spirit Stone, claiming he was the one who awakened him. However, the truth quickly unravels. Rian is not the one responsible for the King's awakening. Enraged by what he perceives as deception, the Spirit King vows to punish them. If I were there, I'd be terrified of the Spirit King's wrath. Oh no! The Duke, completely taken aback, insists that Rian is indeed the rightful owner of the Spirit Stone. Humiliation strikes deep, serves him right. But the Spirit King remains adamant. He knows without a doubt that Rian isn't the one. However, he senses the true owner of the stone is in the mansion. He demands they bring the real owner before him. The Duke, stunned but compliant, agrees to the Spirit King's command. His mind races, unsure of who the true owner could be. If you only knew. Soon, the Duke gathers the high-ranking awakened members of the family, yet none prove to be the one. The Duke cannot fathom the reality that his son Rian is not the stone's true master. That's right, he is fake. Determined, the family even brings forth lower-ranking members in a desperate attempt to find the owner. In the Duke's office, the brothers gather. Rian is lost in thought, his brother urging him not to overthink the situation. He reassures Rian that even if he isn't the stone's true owner, he will still inherit the dukedom, because after all, he has no interest in the title. During their conversation, the Duke asks Dentarian if he's planning to leave for the palace. Dentarian confirms, promising to return for Rian's coming-of-age ceremony. An attendant arrives announcing that Duke Verche is preparing to leave. The Duke comments, surprised that Verche isn't staying longer, expecting him to linger shamelessly. As Duke Verche exits the Elheim residence, his attendant asks if he's truly leaving. The Duke replies that he must. He has preparations to make, one of which includes welcoming Riarte. I'm rooting for you, Duke! Just as Duke Verche is about to enter his carriage, Rion's voice halts him. Rion bids him farewell, and Duke Verche expresses his gratitude. Rion's gaze falls on the cat the Duke is carrying, and he asks if he's taking it with him. With a sly smile, Verche replies with a menacing remark that he will take what's his. Now that's a bold man! They exchange final goodbyes, with Rion commenting that he doesn't think he'll see the Duke ever again. But in Duke Verche's mind, Elheim hasn't seen the last of him. As he said, he will take what's rightfully his. Months pass, and in a noblewoman's room, Riarte gazes out the window, reflecting on the time that has passed since Michael Verche left. Hold on, Riarte! Your knight in shining armor will return to save you soon! Rion enters her room, and Riarte, slightly startled, asks what he's doing there. With a sarcastic grin, he asks if he really needs a reason to visit his only sister. He then asks if she wants anything, as their coming-of-age ceremony draws near. Riarte, indifferent, questions why he even cares. Rion, sensing her unease as she stares longingly out the window, crouches beside her. His voice lowers as he teases if she's thinking of leaving Elheim. Riarte remains silent as he leans in closer, smirking darkly, and tells her that it will never happen, and even in her death, she will die in Elheim. What a wicked heart you have, Rian! Riarte clenches her fists, recalling the promise Michael made to her. Determined, she vows silently that Rion is wrong. This time, she will not repeat her past mistakes. Here's to a new beginning, Riarte. Meanwhile, in the palace, Princess Ninian searches for Dantarian, only to be startled when he appears suddenly. Flustered, she scolds him for his mischievous use of his abilities. As the princess begins to talk about a new maid, Dantarian vanishes mid-sentence, leaving her annoyed. Later, the crown prince and a maid walk through a dimly lit dungeon. Ooh, the suspense! They discuss Rion's approaching ceremony, which the crown prince believes will delight Princess Ninian. As they glance up, their hearts race. They are astonished by what they see. A half-blooded spirit king passed down through generations in the royal family. Things are getting even more thrilling. The crown prince gazes at the half-blooded spirit, mesmerized by its beauty and the immense power it holds. His admiration quickly turns to hunger. He wants that power for himself, untouched by an awakener's influence. The stench of his greed is unmistakable. He's comparable to Rian. With a commanding tone, the prince orders the maid to bring forth the bottle he intends to use for the extraction. The maid, visibly shaken, dares to question him, but the crown prince brushes her aside with arrogant condescension. He sneers at her, questioning her if she's doubting his power as a member of the royal family. Only the royal family, with their distinctive red eyes, remain immune to the curse and influence of the Awakener. Without hesitation, he uncorks the bottle, releasing a sinister black powder from the spirit. This powder, once inhaled or touched, strips any living being of their sanity. Satisfied, the prince turns away and casually asks the maid about Verche's state. The maid meekly replies that, as always, the castle is silent, its doors firmly shut. The crown prince smirks, thinking that Verche's misfortunes, the blind heir and the sick grandfather, calls for a celebration. His cruelty knows no bounds. Meanwhile, Dantarian, hidden nearby, eavesdrops in disbelief. He realizes the terrifying truth. The crown prince is harboring the Spirit King. The day before Rian's coming-of-age ceremony, Dantarian arrives at the Elheim residence, only to be shocked that the family still hasn't found the true owner of the elemental stone. He reflects on how the power of the royal family's Spirit King pales in comparison to that of the Water Spirit King. His thoughts are interrupted when Rian enters the conversation. Rian turns to his father, asking what they will do now that Riarte is about to come of age. His brother is puzzled by Rian's fixation on Riarte, noting how obsessed he's become in recent days. Their father replies that if Rian can harness his abilities without Riarte's help, then they can discard her. But Rian vehemently opposes the idea, declaring that Riarte is his property. How vile, Rian! His brother is stunned by Rian's words, but Dantarian sides with him. Coldly, he suggests that if crippling Riarte is what it takes to keep her, then so be it. This conversation is absolutely heart-wrenching. In his brother's mind, a realization dawns. Dantarian still believes Rian is the true owner of the Spirit Stone, yet they've already been told by the Spirit King himself that Rian is fake. The Golden Boy is nothing but an illusion. As the night before Rian's coming-of-age ceremony unfolds, Riarte feels compelled to uncover the truth. She senses something is amiss. Elheim's Awakened have been summoned to the temple, and her curiosity burns. Approaching the door that only an Ascended Awakener can open, she is startled as it swings open, recognizing her presence. The true master has arrived. Inside the temple, Riarte comes face to face with the Spirit King. To her shock, he resembles the blue figure she encountered before her regression. The Spirit King's eyes light up as he eagerly reaches for her, calling her his master, his one and only contractor. Stunned, Riarte insists that she has no memory of making any such contract. But the Spirit King disagrees, gently touching her arm to reveal a mark, proof of a bond that transcends time, ensuring he would recognize her even in rebirth. Then comes the shocking revelation. Riarte is the reincarnation of Urin, the first contractor. You are truly extraordinary, Riarte. This is getting more thrilling by the minute. I can only imagine the faces of the Elheim when they finally know the truth. As the Spirit King and Riarte stand face to face, the Spirit King unveils a shocking truth about Riarte's identity. She is the embodiment of Urin, the head of the first family. Riarte is astounded as the Spirit King delves into her memories, revealing the mistreatment she has endured from the Elheim family. The Spirit King's fury boils over, and he thinks they deserve to be torn apart and killed. I agree with you, Spirit King. In a moment of darkness, the Spirit King offers Riarte the power to annihilate all of Elheim's humans. But Riarte, with her pure heart, implores him to refrain from such violence, insisting that the Elheim family doesn't deserve his efforts. What an incredible heart Riarte possesses! Riarte expresses her intention to leave and urges the Spirit King to keep their meeting a secret. He inquires if she plans to go to Verche, and she confirms her intention. Though the Spirit King longs to remain with his master, he understands the risks of altering the seal that binds them. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted by an outside voice, signaling Riarte that it's time to depart. They bid farewell, and the Spirit King wishes her happiness, his heart heavy with longing. I guess we can all agree that this Spirit King deserves to be praised. Once Riarte leaves, the Spirit King reflects on the foolishness of the Elheim family. If only they knew who they had cast aside, they would deeply regret their actions. I cannot wait to see their dumbfounded faces when they finally know the truth! On the day of the coming-of-age ceremony, Riarte is under close surveillance by guards. Huimin turns to Rian and remarks that it seems excessive to guard her like a criminal, especially since she's family. Rian's ears ring at Huimin's words, and he questions whether Huimin truly considers Riarte part of the family. Fearful of Rian's intensity, Huimin decides to leave. Left alone, Rian gazes at Riarte and tells himself that she truly belongs in Elheim, a place ensnared in shadows. Like a shadow herself, she watches others, yearning for the light. It beats me to realize that despite being twins, he and Riarte possess completely different hearts. How sad! Princess Ninian approaches Rian, congratulating him on reaching adulthood. She suggests now that Rian is of age, perhaps their engagement can be arranged sooner. Meanwhile, Riarte feels the weight of constant observation, causing her to doubt whether Michael can truly help her. Just have faith, Riarte. As night falls, an attendant of Duke Elheim rushes in with alarming news. An uninvited carriage has arrived. Could this be Riarte's knight in shining armor? Duke Elheim stands dumbfounded as he recognizes the newcomer. Verche has arrived. Michael Verche strides into the room with undeniable confidence and power, prepared to reclaim what is rightfully his. The crowd gasps, particularly the Crown Prince, who notices that Michael's eye patch is gone. Duke Elheim steps forward, confronting Michael and accusing him of shamelessness for daring to appear at the ceremony. Calmly, Michael responds that he has come only to retrieve what he left behind. He turns to Riarte, declaring his purpose. He is there to fulfill his promise and asks her to come with him to Verche, leaving everyone in a state of shock. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. As Michael extends his hand towards Riarte, fulfilling his long-standing promise, Rian's enraged voice suddenly fills the room. Furious, Rian declares that Riarte belongs to him, his property, and threatens to kill Michael. Enough of your twisted plans, Rian! But as Rian attempts to unleash his ability, a sudden surge of immense power shocks everyone, overshadowing his own. The crowd's eyes widen in disbelief as they realize the source. It's Riarte. She commands a power far beyond anyone's expectations. Show them who you truly are, Queen! With steady resolve, Riarte moves closer to Duke Elheim, announcing that now, as she has come of age, she will sever all ties with the Elheim family. For 21 years, she had been trapped in a living hell, forced to exist as a mere substitute, but that ends today. Never again will she be anyone's stand-in. Clasping Michael's hand, Riarte's voice is filled with hope as she tells him at last she can witness the sea. The powerful couple is finally united, ready to leave the past behind. Inside the carriage, Michael's mind drifts to the last moments in the Elheim estate. He cannot forget how desperate they were to keep Riarte, with the Duke nearly falling to his knees, begging her to stay. In Michael's thoughts, Riarte is a rare treasure, too precious for a family blind to her worth. She will never again be reduced to a substitute for Rian, and Michael silently vows to protect her at all costs. We love our green flag king. Riarte's voice pulls him from his reverie. She expresses disbelief at actually being outside the Elheim Palace. The weight of her newfound freedom is almost too much to comprehend. You've earned this, Riarte, a life free of chains. Michael, ever devoted, vows to her that he will help her forget every painful memory, making her future brighter by his side. His unwavering commitment to Riarte is undeniable. So many green flags. As they arrive at their destination, Michael's attendant announces their arrival. Riarte steps out, overwhelmed by the sight before her. The vast, beautiful sea, symbolizing freedom. This is the life you deserve, Riarte, beautiful and unbound. I can't wait to see your future unfold as you embrace the life you've longed for. Riarte gazes at the sea, captivated by its vastness, staying until the sun dips below the horizon. The sight stirs something deep within her. Freedom, wonder, and awe. Her excitement touches Michael, and he watches her with a soft smile, realizing just how fragile and pure she is despite the cruelty she has endured. He moves closer, gently asking her if she truly loves the sea so much that she could stare at it for hours. Riarte turns to him, her eyes shimmering, and admits that the sea is even wider and more beautiful than any fairy tale she's ever read. Overcome with gratitude, Riarte thanks Michael, telling him how lucky she feels to have met him. Her words send warmth rushing to Michael's face, and he blushes, his heart swelling with affection. He silently vows to care for her for the rest of his life. Our dear Duke is too precious. Just when the moment couldn't get any sweeter, Riarte's next words made Michael's heart race. She confesses that she missed him deeply. Michael feels the same. He misses her more than words could express. He tenderly takes her hand and promises that from now on, they will stay together. And together means going to the sea again and again, every time they wish. How sweet is that? Definitely a foot-kicking, heart-fluttering moment. Meanwhile, back in the Elheim palace, Rion is consumed with rage, his anger turning violent as he hurls everything within reach. The thought of Riarte being with Verche drives him mad. He asks himself where it all went wrong. Then it hits him. When Michael first asked Riarte to dance, that's where it began. He curses himself for not getting rid of Verche that night. Duke Elheim enters, his expression grim, clearly disappointed with how Rion's ceremony turned out. He acknowledges Riarte's newfound power, something so immense they've never seen anything like it. Her water magic is otherworldly. He then urges Rion to follow him. They soon find themselves in front of the temple, seeking guidance from the Spirit King. When the Spirit King looks upon them, he can't help but intentionally ridicule them, knowing how poorly they treated Riarte. Yes, Spirit King, avenge your master! Duke Elheim, desperate for answers, asks the Spirit King about the true meaning of being the owner of the Spirit Stone. The Spirit King, with an air of disdain, begins to recount the history of the stone, even mentioning a fallen Spirit King, which makes Dantarian suspect that the Crown Prince is hiding something connected to this. The Spirit King then reveals a shocking truth. Urin, the figure they revere, was in fact a half-wit who couldn't master her spirit powers even at the age of 17, just like Riarte. The Elheim family is left speechless, utterly dumbfounded by this revelation. The Spirit King, seething with disgust, berates the Elheim family for how they treated his master while elevating a fake. He directs his fury at Rion, accusing him of sucking the life force from his mother to be born and continuing to thrive by draining Riarte's power. Then, with a voice of finality, he declares that Rion will no longer receive any power from him. Duke Elheim, reeling from the truth, feels his sanity slipping as he grasps the weight of the Spirit King's words. Desperately, he wants to bring Riarte back, but it's far too late. Justice has been served. On the journey to the Verche Duchy, Riarte drifts off to sleep, her head resting softly on Michael's shoulder. As they arrive, Michael gently taps her awake. Riarte looks up, her eyes widening at the sight of the duchy's towering structure. It's breathtaking. As she takes in the view, a distinguished older man approaches them. To her surprise, it's Carmen Verche, Michael's father. Meeting the father already, huh? She's momentarily speechless, taken aback by Carmen's presence. Sensing her surprise, Michael quickly apologizes for not mentioning his father would meet them. Riarte recovers, bowing and offering her respects. But Carmen waves her off with a kind smile, telling her that they should be the one thanking her, especially for regaining the heir's sight. He gently kisses her hand in gratitude. How sweet! Now we know where Michael got his pleasing attitude. Inside the duchy, Riarte is touched when Carmen reveals he's prepared something special just for her. Entering the Duke's room, she is left in awe, her eyes wide at the sight of the room's opulent decor. A knock on the door interrupts her reverie, and in walks Merlin, introducing herself as Riarte's personal attendant. But Riarte is stunned. She recognizes Merlin from the past life. Merlin was a fierce warrior, once responsible for taking down hundreds of troops during Verche's assault on the royal family and Elheim. Why would someone with such a dangerous history be assigned to her? Still, Merlin bows and helps Riarte change into new attire, her demeanor calm and professional. Meanwhile, out in the garden, Michael and Carmen await Riarte's arrival. Carmen can't resist teasing his son about how obviously smitten he is with her. And when Riarte steps into the garden looking radiant, Michael's world seems to pause. They are such cuties! As they settle in for tea, Riarte's eyes widen at the sight of the array of sweet treats before her. She's never seen anything like it. Michael and Carmen exchange shocked looks, realizing it's her first time experiencing such delicacies. Trying to lift the mood, Michael offers her a slice of cake. As Riarte takes a bite, her eyes light up, sparkling with delight. She's such a soft baby who must be protected at all costs. As the evening draws on, Riarte strolls through the hall with Merlin by her side. Suddenly, a loud noise startles her. She spins around, only to find herself engulfed in darkness. Oh no! What a pity that something so beautiful is about to be disrupted by something wicked! And that's it for today, guys. What did you think? As always, don't forget to like the video and comment for the next part so we know you want more. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications for updates. See you in the next one!